What is going on, everyone? We are here with another episode of the Spotlight series hosted by yours truly, ACK. Y'all know the drill at this point is we're slowly getting to that 100 goal mark. We're over 80 episodes now, so we only got like 20 so more to go, and you guys know that's been a huge goal of mine is to get to that 100 episode mark. So we're just here, we're listening to new stories, hearing some new music, and meeting some new artists. And today I got a local guy here with me today from Massachusetts, repping Mass today, is Ben Durand. Ben, how are you today, man?
I'm doing great, Andrew. How are you doing?
Yeah, honestly, man, it's just, I mean, everyone knows my birthday was yesterday, so just celebrating that, recovering from that. But honestly, super excited to sit here and talk to you about your story today because, I mean, for people that don't know, as we met on TikTok, you were doing a live one night and you were just jamming out, and I was sitting there jamming with you on the other end of the TikTok, and then you had like said like if you for people that don't know who I am, like you're from Massachusetts and stuff. So I'm like, oh shit, like he's from Mass, I'm from Mass. So I was like, you know what, let me reach out to him and see what he's up to. So then we started talking, and now here we are doing this interview today. And it's crazy how many doors you can open when you really step into the music industry and just make those connections, because that's what's really powerful at the end of the day.
Oh, no doubt, man. I mean, it was crazy. I had probably only been a week or two into doing live shows on TikTok, and then you had sat in on one and you said, "Hey, man, that was so much fun. Like, we should
Yeah.
connect. You should come on the podcast." And I was like, "What the heck just happened?" I was like, "This is my second time going live, and now I have someone asking me to come on their podcast." So,
Yeah.
uh, it's an honor to be here, Andrew, and looking forward to definitely getting together here soon too, because you're so local. So.
No, exactly. I think we had talked about it too. We're only like a half hour from each other too, so that's nothing. That's like a sleepwalk for me right there. Like that's easy enough. We can get together and do that. But kind of hopping into the first question is it really kind of just sets up the whole show. Is starts with the basic of basics. Is where did singing and playing kind of really come about for you? Because I know for some artists it starts at such an early age. They start humming nursery rhymes and stuff the day they were born, but then I like to compare it to someone like myself who really only started like the whole songwriting and producing aspect of things back in 2018. So that was only like 5 years ago. So kind of where did everything come about for you?
Yeah, I mean, if we were really to go back in the Wayback Machine, I'm a middle child, so I've always been fighting for attention in the family, you know. But I think for me, it started at a pretty young age. It was around middle school or elementary school when I started trying out for the school shows and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in middle school, when we kind of transitioned to that, we were starting to get into theater, and I was super into it, man. I loved it. I loved acting, I loved dancing, I loved singing.
Yeah.
Admittedly, though, when I started, I had probably the worst voice in the entire grade. Like my theater teacher actually made me in my sixth grade musical mouth the words while I was on stage because I was so repulsive in my voice. So it was bad at the beginning, but I was persistent as heck, stuck with it. And then come high school, and even like eighth grade, I started getting casted as like the leads in the shows and getting more solos. And that was kind of where it started, back doing theater in high school and middle school.
Yeah, no, and it's always just awesome to ask that question to really just see how an artist develops throughout their career, because you can sit here and listen to so many big name artists right now, like Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen, Jason Aldean, just to name a few, and be like, wow, that's cool, like they're a cool artist, like they have a lot of cool songs, but it's always just, to me, it's always interesting to just hear the background and how they started everything and where everything came about. So it's always cool to just start with that question and kind of lead into the whole rest of the interview. So talking
Yeah, no
about the
doubt. And
yeah. Oh no, go ahead. You're good.
oh, I was just gonna say too, something important to note is like I didn't even know guitar until 3 years ago.
That's crazy.
So
That's
I was always a singer, but I didn't
yeah.
even know how to play an instrument. So that was kind of something I just dove into in the last 3 years and have absolutely loved it. Guitar got me through COVID. I would have been a much less happier person if I didn't have it. So
No, exactly. And like kind of like for COVID for me was doing this podcast. Like that's what got me through COVID is this I started this up because it was like probably about a month or so into like the whole lockdown thing, and no
yeah,
one had ever been through any of that. No one kind of really knew what to do. So I was just sitting there one day and I said, you know what? Like at the end of the day is if I can go out of my way to just help people, like that's what makes me happy. And I have a passion for music too. So I'm like, why can't I just put those two things together, reach out to up and coming artists and stuff like that, and help them get more exposure and help them show who they are as artists and what they're doing in the music business. And then all of a sudden, here we are 5 years or 2 years later now from that. And I've had over 100 episodes just meeting all kinds of interesting people. And it's crazy how the connections just work.
Yeah, no doubt. What you're doing is an amazing thing, man, and you have such an energy to you. Like, who wouldn't want to come on your show, you know?
No, exactly. Like I mean, it's crazy looking back on some of this stuff is because I've had so many people on here, and now there's people out there that I've had on the show that even inspire me as an artist now, and that's kind of going to lead into this next question is talking about inspirations. I could sit here for hours and just make a whole podcast about inspirations and who's really like influenced me and stuff like that. And a lot of people know is like Chris Daughtry. He's a huge, huge influence for me. Like he got me into the whole songwriting process and stuff like that. And it's just I always look up to him, and I actually got to see him last year and one of the best shows I've ever been to easily. But to kind of ask you the question is who are some inspirations that you kind of look up to in the music industry?
Yeah. So for myself, I've always loved Chris Young. He's been a guy since the beginning. His voice and the songs that he writes, I just was really gravitated towards them.
Mhm.
But recently, folks like Tyler Childers and Zach Bryan and Coulter Wall and um, like Muscadine Bloodline. I know those are kind of drastically different, but I've loved like these indie artists that have also found this sound that's just really kind of exploded in country music.
Yeah,
So love those guys. And then outside of kind of the famous musicians, I actually get a lot of inspiration from my friends, like my closest buddies that have been pursuing this. So I have friends in California and New York, like Zachary Barker, Matt Ryan, Kyle Kasabian, and my buddies down in Nashville, like Trent Fisher and Mac Van Gorder, who have carved out paths for themselves, whether it be comedy or acting or directing or Mac and Trent are more in the country music scene
yeah,
that have really given me a lot of encouragement and advice along the way to say like, hey Ben, this is like something that you could do if you ever wanted to walk through that door.
yeah.
So now at 30 I'm kind of just starting to dip my toes in the water, but just a ton of inspiration from those guys, just watching the paths that they've taken with their craft, and have nothing but so much respect for them.
Yeah, no, and that's awesome. I mean, that's just like that's where all the love really comes from is down in Nashville and stuff like that. Just to be able to open that door and to say like, hey, like I maybe want to start doing some of this stuff. Like what advice can you give me and what can I do to really take that next step and go down that next road? And it's always cool to just have those people that you can rely on and talk to and just say, hey, like what is the next step?
Oh, definitely. These are like lifers in my life, you know. So the nice thing is they're teaching me how to get up the beginning of the stairs, and they'll be with me through the end. So
Exactly. And I mean, getting into the third question is always one of my favorites is talking about the creative process because for so many artists, I mean, especially down in Nashville, there's hundreds and thousands of songwriters down there. And at the end of the day, for me, is a good song comes with a good story. That's what I really look for in an artist. If they can tell a great story from start to finish in their lyrics, then I'm hooked and I'm a big fan of them. And I mean, I heard a couple of your originals the first night that I saw you on TikTok. And honestly, like I was blown away. Like I don't remember the names of both of them off the top of my head. So you might
all
have
good.
to help me with that one. But I know it was the one that you wrote for your godmother. I know that one, one of my
Yep.
favorites easily. And then there was another one, but I don't
Probably Long Shot, the one I wrote about my wife in the long distance relationship.
know. I heard that one, but there's another one.
Oh, Cup
You
as
just
full as mine.
Yes, Cup is Full is Mine. That's exactly what it is. So I mean, you have these few songs that like that's really what drew me in and really wanted me to reach out. And then I always do have to quote Garrett Walker real quick before I ask you this question. But Garrett Walker, who was on the show, he said it perfectly: is the creative process is like a puzzle. whether you have that 100-piece, 200-piece puzzle, you have it all scattered on the table and you're trying to figure out where these pieces fit. And slowly you start putting everything together. You put the border together, you put the middle together, and piece by piece, you create this thing and you create this song that you have, and then you'll be able to share it with other people. So, at the end of the day, for you, what is your creative process like when it comes to creating music?
Yeah, I mean, that so well spoken from your buddy there. It is such a puzzle. It really is. For myself, it usually starts with notes in my phone. So I'll get inspiration from anything. It could be watching a dad hold his daughter's hand walking in a mall. It could be um hanging out with your buddies in a backyard by a fire, and someone says something where you're just like, that's a lyric.
Yeah.
And I just put it right into my notes in my phone. And so if I ever showed you this, like, it's like my dear diary in my iPhone right now. It goes for pages and pages and pages of just song lyrics, ideas, notes. And so once I have that, I typically like to get away from tech when I'm writing.
Yeah.
So I'll grab the idea, I'll start kind of game planning on a notepad, and I'll start just writing everything that comes to mind. So if it's, like a dad walking with his daughter in the mall, like what's happening in that mall? Like what's their relationship? What's their story? Like kind of just picturing, and it's just word vomiting onto a page, just get as much down as you can. You never know what's going to connect or how you're going to pull a story together. And then um, that's how it'll start from like a lyric side. But oftentimes too, it'll just be me riffing on my guitar. I'll just be playing and I'll find a good riff, and then you kind of Ouija board it. You just start humming and singing and humming, and then all of a sudden you'll say something and you're like, that was interesting. And I watched this John Mayer interview at one time where he's like, um, dinner plans at 5 are the biggest breaker of creativity across artists. It's like when you're feeling a beat, or if you're starting to feel a song, like cancel your plans, like stay in and just live in it, and try and figure it out, because you just don't know when you're going to get that spark again.
Exactly. And it's like I said, that's always one of my favorite questions to ask because for so many artists, it's so different. You can sit there and start with the lyrics and then figure out the melody later, or you can kind of go with the melody and start humming and hopefully something starts popping out. So it's always just really cool and creative to see how people really come about and start doing and creating their music.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, it's definitely I haven't found a silver bullet yet. I wish I had. I'd probably have written more songs by now. But definitely just trying both, we're starting with lyrics, starting with song, and then seeing kind of where they come together.
Exactly. And I mean, those three songs that we had just talked about before I asked you the question, too. I mean, you're already killing it with those songs. I'm definitely a huge fan of all those. And it's just sometimes it's hard to sit there and get your name out there and show your music. I mean, obviously, as you know, you just started out. So you're kind of realizing that you're fighting with millions and millions of different artists out there, whether it's on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, all streaming platforms, whatever. You have to go on there and be like, hey, I'm Ben, like here are a couple of my originals, here's some covers. But like it's hard at the end of the day, man, and I know that as a songwriter and producer myself. And this leads into the fourth question, always one of my favorites too, up there with the creative process one. But at the end of the day, is what makes you you compared to all these other artists, and what can we kind of take away from your music that we can't find in anyone else's music?
Wow, that's a great question. So a couple things. First, I'll start with, I've always had the mentality of the world is so plentiful. Like there's really room for everyone, which is amazing, right? You don't, like, I don't necessarily have the aspirations of even, I mean, I don't know, maybe that would change, like being a Morgan Wallen or a Luke Combs. Like I love my life in Massachusetts. I love my family that's local. I love the friend group that I have here. Not to say I wouldn't love to go on tour and do things, but I like kind of being a little bit under the radar. And I'm sure at times he probably wishes he was under the radar a little bit more. Um, but I feel like there really is opportunity for everyone. And I feel like specifically, I bring this up all the time on my live shows. I go, if you scroll up or if you scroll down, you're gonna find someone with a better voice than me. You're gonna find someone that's a better guitarist than me. You're gonna find a better songwriter than me, whatever it be. What I'm really trying to achieve in my community and the people that are starting to follow me on this very early journey is just being a super positive distraction in their day. You
Yeah.
know, we're all jumping on our phones for who knows what, right? A release from the moment that you're living in. And if they come to my live or if they're at a bar and I'm playing there, if they're coming to a venue, I just want it to be an experience where they leave with a smile. They felt like it was super positive. They felt like the people that have gravitated towards me were super positive and just great people. Like, and so I just want my shows and my following and my brand to be that, hey, we're all about spreading positivity. We're all about lifting each other up. And that's what I'm really trying to exude through my music and through myself, is just like being a positive guy that people want to follow and kind of fall in love with eventually.
I mean, honestly, I'd like straight up probably one of the best answers that I've had on the show in a long time. Like that's what it's all about at the end of the day, dude, is just spreading that positivity, letting people have that smile, and just music is such a powerful thing. Like it's an art, and it takes a lot of hard work, time, and dedication, but at the end of the day is if you can sit there and that's your goal, is to sit there and have people leave with a smile and just kind of forget about what's going on in their life and just listen to some good music. Like that's what it's all about for me at the end of the day. And that's a perfect answer, man. Like I honestly thank you for answering that question properly.
No, I appreciate it, man. It's I think what I'm also just loving so much about this is it doesn't feel like work. It's my favorite thing I'm looking forward to at the end of my actual 9 to 5. You know, it is if there was no money, if money didn't exist, if you couldn't get paid, like Luke Combs wrote the song, I'd still be doing this. You know, like I love it. And so it's easy to lean into, you know.
No, exactly. And I mean, at the end of the day, that's also another powerful thing too, is if you're sitting here having fun with it and you're enjoying what you're doing, then that's what's great about it. I mean, because like I'm in the same boat as you, is like this stuff's kind of just part-time right now. Like I have my full-time job and stuff like that, my 9 to 5, whatever. And then coming home and doing these interviews and producing and songwriting and stuff, that's just something that I really have fun with. And at the end of the day, is just as a songwriter, and my aspect is if I can sit there and write a song that's gonna help either that one or two people. I mean, it would be great if it helped a million people, but at the end of the day is just to help that one person or those two people with a song that I wrote. That's really what I feel like just makes me happy and makes me a successful person.
100%. 100%. I love that. I love that.
Yeah. So kind of getting into the fifth and final question here before we hear some live music from you, which is always my favorite part of the show. Is kind of looking towards your future a little bit. Is what are some of your short-term and long-term goals, and just what else can we kind of expect down the road from you?
Yeah. So immediately short term, next weekend, I'm opening for Sam Grow,
Mhm.
which is the biggest show I've ever done. Sam Grow is a nationally recognized country artist from Maryland, but lives down in Nashville. He recently played at the Grand Ole Opry, so
Yep.
he's a big deal. And he was gracious enough to let me open for him at this bar local. It's called the Boathouse, or actually the Boat, rebranded to the Boat. So I'm going to be opening for him next weekend. Got a full hour set, ready to rock. I have my buddy Johnny Friday, who's going to be my lead guitarist for that show. And but as far as short term goals, my goal is just to start playing out more. I want to play at more venues. I want to play at more bars. There's some places up in Laconia this year that I want to try and get to.
Yep.
Um, if you kind of expand upon those goals, I'd love to start playing at smaller music festivals locally.
Mhm.
So like Lowell Folk Festival would be super cool.
Yep.
Any of like the town parade stuff that has a pretty good showing, I'd love to play at. But as far as like 5 or 10 year goals, Guilford Arena, or the Guilford place up in New Hampshire is a spot that I would love to go and open for someone there, like a real big country artist. would love to do that, or even play at like the Ballroom Casino in Hampton. I think
Yeah,
there's like levels to it, right? So like you kind of start with
exactly.
the bars and the restaurants, and then you start doing festivals, like smaller festivals, local stuff. And if I could kind of grow to a point where I had a following where I could garner the attention of some, real awesome musicians that come up this way, I'd love to kind of play at those bigger venues.
Yeah, no, and I mean that's awesome, man. I mean, honestly, if you're a singer and songwriter and you don't have that goal of starting in a bar, then making your way to the big stage, like honestly, I don't know if you're doing music the right way at that point, honestly. Like that's the perfect story at the end of the day is to start at the bar scenes and work your way up. And it's just I'm a huge fan of yours, man. And I mean, obviously you know that by now and hearing some of your songs and stuff like that, I just can't wait to see what else is going to happen for you. And I mean, obviously, we're gonna connect at some point too, and I'm just excited to see where this road takes you.
Yeah, I can't wait. I think we'll be having a song coming out soon from me and Andrew, so we'll be
No,
writing after
no,
later.
absolutely. A couple of beers by a fire, and I mean, we'll write something up together. I mean, that's a recipe for for a song if I've ever heard one.
Yeah, I think that's how about 70% of country songs got started. So
No, exactly. So that kind of concludes all the questions I have for you. So obviously getting to the good part of the show is hearing a song from you. So kind of what I'll do is usually what I do is I'll just put myself on mute. If you want to just let us know kind of what song you're singing, how this song kind of came about. And other than that, man, the floor is yours.
sure, yeah. Let me grab my guitar. It's right here behind me. Um, the song I'm thinking of playing for all of you is a song I wrote about my godmother. So my godmother, my aunt Den, she was an amazing person who passed away by cancer a couple years ago. And the thing about her, and I hope everyone has an aunt Den in their life, is she made me feel like a celebrity in her eyes. Like she made me feel like the most special person. And she'd always be joking with me, like, you're gonna be the next Tom Brady, because I played quarterback, and or like when I was doing theater, you're gonna be on Broadway someday, just like all these different things. And at the end of the day, none of that really happened, right? Like I didn't go to the NFL. I haven't played on a mega stage or anything like that. And the song was just hoping that she's still proud of the man that I am. And so I wrote this song called Man I Became, and I hope everyone likes it. And is this a good setup for y'all?
Yep, you are good.
All right, here we go. I was a kid, you taught me to dream big, chase everyone that I had. You made me believe that I could achieve anything if you wanted it bad. But since you've been gone, it's hard to move on and become the man you thought I'd be. Gave it my best, and I hope it's not less than the future never got to see. Cause I'm not the football star on the Super Bowl team or the guy in the sports car you see on TV, and I ain't heard my name get a cheer since I turned 18. I still play in the men's league every Friday night. Take the truck that you left me. We used to drive, and I'm starting to think everything get better with time. Yeah, I never got the fortune or fame. I just hope you'd be proud of the man I became. There ain't a day that I would trade just to have one more with you. Sit back and laugh, reminisce on the past, of all the things we used to do. When it's time that you go, I try not to show the pain I feel inside of me. Times I'm a mess, but I hope I'm impressed with the man trying to be. 'Cause I'm not the football star on the Super Bowl team or the guy in the sports car see on TV, and I ain't heard my name get a cheer since I turned 18. But I still play in a man's league every Friday night. Take the truck that you left me. We used to drive and starting to think everything get better with time. Yeah, I never got the fortune or fame. And I know it must kill you seeing me cry, but I promise I'm okay. I dismiss all the rights, but I finally see everything get better with time. Yeah, I never got the fortune or fame. Not a thing I do different or change. If I could know you were proud of the man I became.
I mean, I go back. I need to just go back for 2 seconds on Kelly and Kat, who were on the show. They're two sisters. They're a duo together. I had them on the show last summer. I believe it was last summer. And they both kind of did their performance, and it gave me chills. And at the end of the day, I said from that episode on, it's either chills or go home for artists at this point. Like if I don't get the chills, then honestly, not sure if the episode's gonna air. But I mean, just the chills from that, man, and the lyrics behind that, knowing what that song means to you, because for a lot of people that know who I am, is that's how I wrote my first ever song. It was about my grandfather passing away in 2018, and it just, that song I poured my heart and soul into, and it means so much to me. And that song right there, dude, like, I mean, I don't know if you were paying attention to me at all, but I was just sitting there singing the whole song, and like, it chills all around, and you're a hell of an artist, dude. Like I love what you're doing.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. It's a song that means a lot to me. It means a lot to my family, which I love. And I've definitely had some really cool experiences playing that where you just don't know how it's going to hit someone. And I think that's what we all kind of live for, is just like finding a song that actually connects with people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, I'm just super thankful that you played that on the podcast today. And I'm just super thankful that you took time out of your day to sit here and talk about your story through music.
Dude, I'm so grateful for you too, Andrew. Like I'm so humbled to be invited onto your show. And I just think what you're doing, spreading the word about all these new musicians that are just kind of starting out or on their journey, is just such an admirable thing. And I can't wait to get together with you, man. We're gonna have so much fun.
No, exactly. That's honestly what I'm waiting for. It can't come soon enough. And I'm super excited for people to see what we can do together. Because like at the end of the day, that's what keeps driving me to do this, is making these connections, and then you be willing to go further than the podcast and hang out and write songs and just talk music and stuff like that. That's what keeps the fuel going, and that's what just keeps me going.
100%. That's what it's all about. Like I can't wait to meet all the people that have been in my live shows. Like I'm looking at my analytics on TikTok, and Massachusetts isn't even a top city for me. It's like Dallas and
Yeah.
Houston and California, like LA, and I'm like, what the heck is going on right now? I'm like, so it's like I can't wait to get out to these places and finally meet some of the people that I've been following the last couple months.
Yeah, no, and that's awesome. But again, Ben, thank you so much just for taking time to play that song and to sit here and talk about your story. It always just honestly truly means a lot to me for artists to just sit here and take time out of their day to sit here and spread their story.
Absolutely. No, the pleasure's all mine, man. Thank you so much for having me on, and looking forward to watching the episode back and watching all the other ones that come up.
Absolutely. Kind of before I do my little outro though, is just for people that don't know who you are, is where can we find you on social medias?
Oh, geez. I'm gonna have to look at what the names of my social medias are. I think it's Ben Durand 17 on Instagram. Yeah, Ben underscore Durand 17 for Instagram.
Mhm.
And for TikTok, I believe it's Ben underscore Durand underscore music.
Okay.
So I wish I had an easier thing, ACK. That's nice. But for myself, I don't know. There must be other Ben Durands out there taking up my stuff.
No, absolutely. But I mean, people that don't know who he is, go check him out. Super, super talented guy. Go check him out on. He's always live on TikTok. That's where I found him. That's where you should find him. But also check him out on Instagram and stuff like that. And again, Ben, thank you so much just for taking time to do this today.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you, Andrew.
No, of course. So that kind of concludes another episode of the Spotlight series hosted by yours truly, ACK. You all know the drill at this point is Sundays, 1 p.m. Eastern. We got new artists, new stories, new music. Never know who's popping in, never know what's going to happen. So we're just going to keep rolling to 100 and we'll get there eventually. So thanks for tuning in this week, and I'll see you all next week.